This is how I made this beautiful underbust corset dress with draped cup, ruched design at the back, and a Basque waistline. Hello everyone, it's Esther. Welcome back to my channel where I share detailed sewing tutorial every week. So if that sounds like what you'll be interested in, then go ahead and click on the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my latest sewing tips and tricks. Without further ado, let's jump into class. So here the fabric I'll be using this plain one for the bodice, then I'll be using the flowery one for the gathers and the sleeve. Okay, so I'll keep this aside, then we'll continue our drafting. So these are my tools I'll be using for the drafting. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark my starting point line, which is 1 inch. You can ignore it if your paper is straight. So I'll rule across. Then I'll mark my shoulder measurement, which is 14 divided by 2, which is 7. Then I'll also mark my basic neckline, 3 by 3. That's the width is 3 and the depth is 3 inches. So under my shoulder measurement that I mark 7, I will go down and mark my shoulder slant, which is 1.5. So I went down by 1.5 and I marked my neckline. So I'll connect these lines now from the width of my neckline to my shoulder slope. Then I'll connect my neckline, the 3 by 3 basic neckline. I hope you got that. Please take note, my paper is on fold. So the next thing I want to do is to mark my chest line, which is my bust divided by 6 plus 2.5. So I got 8.5, I marked it, then I'll rule the line across. So this is my chest line. Now drop your shoulder measurements that you put on the starting point line. Also mark it on your chest line, just the way I did. Then you connect it. You see it? So on this line now, I'm going to share it into two and I'll get the midpoint. At that midpoint, I will go in by 0.75. Then on my chest line, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4, which gave me 9 inches. Then I'm going to connect these 3 points from my shoulder slope to the 0.75, then to my bust measurement. So it will give me a very nice armhole. You can see it's beautiful, right? So let's continue. Now let's mark all our vertical measurements. So the first one is my shoulder to nipple line, which is 10 inches. I'm going to mark it. Then I'll mark my shoulder to under bust 13 inches. Then I'll mark my shoulder to waistline 17 inches. Then I'll mark my hip line, which is 25 inches. Then I'll connect all these lines across, just like I'm doing. So because of the design of this dress, we need 2 more lines. We need to get our lower waistline. So to get our lower waistline, we'll go down from our true waistline by 3 inches. So that's what I marked, and I marked it across. Then we don't want the backs to get to the lower hip. So I'm going to come up by 1 inch and I'll draw it across. Now let's label all our lines. So this is the chest line. This is the shoulder to nipple line. This is the shoulder to under bust line. This is the shoulder to waistline, which is the upper waist. Now this is the lower waist where we came down by 3 inches. And finally, this is the upper hip where our backs, our V shape, we end. So now I'm going to alter the neckline. I'm going to be using the chest line as the depth of my neckline. So on that chest line, I'm going to go in by 0.75. Then the width of my neckline is going to be 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches. Then I'll connect this line into a V-neck. So that is my neckline. Now that is the neckline we are going to use for this dress. So now I'll go to my under bust line. I will impute my bust span measurement, which is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5. Then I'll connect with a curve from that my neckline to my under bust. So now let's impute our body measurement. We have already imputed our bust measurement previously. We'll ignore the under bust, then go straight to the upper waist. Our upper waist measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5. Then we'll go to our lower waist. My lower waist is 33. 33 divided by 4 is going to give us 8.25. So I will connect this line from my bust to my upper waist, then from my upper waist to my lower waist. After that, the next thing that I want to do is to connect from that my lower waist to my hip with a backs, with a V line. You see it? I'm going to connect it. This is called our backs. So our backs is ready. So now we will continue with getting out our cup. So on the under bust line, I will go up by 0.75, just the way I'm doing now. Then I will use a slight curve to connect it back to my bust span measurement. So, and we are done.
So we're gonna cut it out now. So just follow the lines, follow what I'm doing, and cut yours just like I'm doing mine. And we are done. Voila! See how beautiful our underbust draped cup is looking already. So I'm just going to keep this aside. Let's work on the cup. So we are going to do slash and spread method on this cup. So I'm going to measure and take half of the shoulder line there, and I'm going to connect it straight down. Then we are going to cut through. We are going to slash. Then I'll bring a brown paper, fill up the slash line, and that will be our cup. So let me get a brown paper. So I've brought a brown paper and I fill up the top there at the shoulder for it to balance. And I opened up this our slash by 5 inches. Then I'm just going to connect the line so that it comes out smoothly. Then I'll cut off the excess. You see it? See how beautiful it's looking? Wow. So by the time we gather the cup and put it into the bodice, this is what it's going to look like. Now let's draft our back. So I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement. Then I'll mark my neckline, which is 3 by 1. This is my basic neckline. The width is 3 and the depth is 1 inch. On my shoulder measurement, I'm going to go down by the shoulder slope. For the back, the shoulder slope is just 1 inch, not 1.5. So I'm going to connect from my neck width to my shoulder slope. Then I'll connect my neckline just the way I'm doing. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my chest line. Remember, my chest line is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 2.5. Then I'll also go ahead to mark my lower waist, which is 20 inches. So I'm going to square up these lines. Now I'm going to impute my shoulder measurement on my chest line too, and I'll connect the line. And I'll share what I have here into two, get the midpoint. Then at that point, I'll go in by ½ inch, not 0.75, half. Then I'll impute my bust measurement divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4, which is 9. Then I'll connect all these lines just like we did in the front. So you see how beautiful the armhole is. Then I'll go ahead to measure my upper waist. You know, I've measured my lower waist before. Now I'll measure my upper waist, which is 17 inches. I'm going to draw the lines. Then I'm going to label all my lines. Then the next thing I want to do is to impute my upper waist measurement, which is 30 divided by 4. Then my lower waist 33 divided by 4. Then I'll connect the lines. I'm trying to blend that part so that I don't have any sharp edge. This dress is not going to be having a zipper, but if you want a zipper, you can impute your zipper allowance. And the back is going to be having this ruched design. So I'm going to cut off 5 inches from this back. So I'm going up by 5 inches from the lower waist, and I'll connect it. So I'll just cut it out now. This is going to replace our ruched. We are going to use elastic threads to do that part. So I'm going to cut out. Okay, now we have not altered our neckline. You know, the width of the back is 4 inches. So I've done that here now. So I've altered it to 4 inches as the width of the neckline. So just cut out, cut out, cut out. Okay, so I'm just labeling it so that we know what we are doing. Now let's transfer to fabric. So I cut 2 pieces each for the cup, 2 pieces. Then I added ½ inch at the shoulder, ½ inch at the cup area, the neckline. Then by the side, I added 1 inch. Then for the lower part, I added ½ inch at the cup area, 1 inch by the side, ½ inch at the lower part. The center is on fold. You see it is on fold. And I added half at the top too. Let's open it so that you will see it. So I cut 2 pieces of this one too. I'll use one as the lining and one as the main fabric. So you see, I added ½ inch at the top, ½ inch at the cup, 1 inch by the side, and ½ inch below. So let's start sewing. The first thing I'm going to do is to sew the neckline where I'm pointing at. I'll go and sew it with ½ inch that I added. So I've gone ahead to sew it and I've pressed it. You see it? I've pressed it. So our cup is ready. I'm going to go and draw gathers on that cup area. I'll sew gathers there. Then I will attach it. After sewing the gathers, we'll attach it to the cup on the bodice, the cup area on the body. So let me go and sew the gathers and I'll bring it back. So I've sewn the gathers. I am drawing the gathers right now. You see it? I drew the gathers around the cup area where the neckline ended. Okay, so now we'll attach it. When you are attaching it, please take note. You are going to leave ½ inch at the top there. You see it? From that ½ inch before you start joining. You leave ½ inch, then you start joining the cup. You arrange your gathers very well. After that, you use the lining to turn it. But let me go and join it and bring it back. Okay, so now I've sewn it. You can see how beautiful it's looking. Everything is set. I arranged the gathers very well. Now I'm going to use the lining to turn it. This is the lining. I'm going to use it to turn it so that it will be neat. So I'll put it at the front. See, that's the front. I'll put it at the front, then sew that half inch. Remember, we left half inch at the top. I will sew it, then I'll start following. I'll make sure that the fabric goes inside. Then I'll start sewing. You see, I'll start sewing round the cup so that by the time I finish sewing, it's going to be neat. So let me go and sew it. I've sewn it now. So now let's notch. I'm notching now so that it will lay flat when we turn it over. So I'm notching it neatly, then I'll turn it over after notching. Wow, this is so clean. See how beautiful it's looking. Inside out is clean because all our sewing is now inside. Can you see it? Everything is looking very beautiful. Okay, so now let's go to the back. So on the back, on the center back, I added 1.25 because I want volume. And on the side, after adding 1 inch, I also added 1.25. Also, all this is to give us volume so that I can gather it. So I cut facing for the neckline too. At this lower part, we are going to gather it. Okay, so I went ahead to place my facing and I'll sew half inch to turn it. So I've done that already. I've turned the neckline, I've notched it, and I've pressed it. So the next thing I'll do is to bring my front so that we can join the shoulders. So I'll join the shoulders. I'll use the facing to turn it, neatly so that it will come out very neat. I'll just use the facing to turn it and I'll go ahead to sew half inch. I'll do the same thing for the other shoulder so that it will come out neat. So I've done that already. You can see our shoulder is looking very, very neat. So I want you to do yours like that too. So if you notice that the back is shorter than the front, don't panic. Remember, we removed 5 inches from the back because we want to add the ruched. So this is it. This is the 5 inches that we remove, and we are going to replace it with the ruched back. So now what we are going to do, please pay attention here. We're about to cut the gathered part. So I'm going to measure this, my front, these backs here. I'm going to measure what I have. So when I measured, I got 20.5. 20.5. So I'm going to times that 20.5 by 3. Whatever my value is, that's going to be the width of my gathers. Then the length of my gathers is going to be my gown length minus my lower waist, which is 40. My gown length is 40 minus my lower waist, which is 17, and that will give me 23 inches. So that's for the front. Then for the back, it's going to be the same 23 plus the 5 inches that we minus. Remember? Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut the fabric. So this is my front. For the front, like I said, the width is going to be times 3 of that measurement that we measured at the back's area, times 3. Just times the value by 3. Then for the back, the width for the back is going to be my waist divided by 4. My waist divided by 4 times 2.5. That's going to be the width. Then I'm going to use thread, elastic thread. That's the elastic thread. I'm going to wind it on my bobbin. I'm going to sew lines up to 5 inches. Do you understand? You see, up to 5 inches, I'm going to sew ruched lines. Ruched lines. So let me go ahead and sew them. So I've sewn it up to 5 inches at the back. Then I'm going to attach it. Before I attach it, I'm going to draw gathers here. We have SS here too. So I'm going to draw gathers here. Then I will attach this, my ruched back, to it. You get it? Then for the front, I'm going to gather that, my fabric, and I will attach it to the backs. You see it? So let me do all this and I'll come back to show you. So guys, I've gone ahead to attach the gathers for the back, for the front. Everything is looking so beautiful. You can see it for yourself. Everything is just sitting pretty. Look at the backs area, even the back, the ruched back. Everything is looking so pretty. So the next thing we are going to do now is to just join the sides and join the sleeve, and we are done. So you will see me now rocking it, a fine girl. So are you going to replicate this style? Do you like it? Please replicate it and tag me on Instagram at Estibella Design, so that we'll rock this beautiful dress together. Thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this video. Do well to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any of my tutorials. Bye bye.